Hi, everyone. Welcome to Climb Your Everest Leadership Skills series. I'm very excited to have you. I think today is session 31. And so we've had many sessions so far. I'm very thankful for all of you for being here. As I just announced, we are going to do the leadership workshops in Kathmandu and Bhaktapur in person. So please keep inviting your friends to come to the workshops, and I'm going to be sharing this video that I'm recording with all of you so you can share it with friends who are missing this session today. With us today, we have our amazing Bethany. She was with us in the last session. We talked about public speaking. So today she's going to be talking about physical fitness. So I'm going to be helping her with this slide actually today. So let me start by sharing. Bethany, do you want to start by saying something?
Sure, happy to be here. And thank you, Sarah, for helping with the slides again. And yes, you just let me know when. All right, I see you on mute, so I will start the presentation now. Hi everyone. Hope everyone is doing well today in Nepal. And like I said, happy to be here, coming to you from New York in the United States. And it's about 10:30 in the morning here. And this is one of my favorite topics to talk about is physical fitness. It was my favorite class when I was just a little kid at school, and it's become a real big passion of mine, and I pursue it in some capacity just about every day. And I'm going to go a little bit into that backstory there to just give you a little bit of what my background on this is, because I don't have a degree in this. Like I have past presentations where I might have taught a college class on it, but this is my athletic background. So when I was in high school and college, I played soccer and basketball, and I loved just about every sport that there was, but I really focused on soccer. And I went on to become an all-star for my teams and most valuable player. So I was certainly one of the best. And I went on to play in college. And the picture of me on the left, that's with my college soccer team where I went. And this all set the stage for what I have become, which is a mountain athlete and a mountain climber. And I don't do the mountains as big as Sarah, but I do some of the smaller ones. And then I go for these things, they're called fastest known times in the mountains. And I'm trying to do the mountains as fast as possible. And I have just recently become the first female to 100 of these fastest known times, which was a very directive statement that I wanted to make because there were a lot of men who had done this before, and I wanted to do it and show women that they can do it as well. So that second photo of me in all the winter garb, that's in the mountains where I live in New York, and it gets very cold here in the winter. And I like this quote: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So I do a lot of these with teammates, and I really like working with people. Next slide, Sarah. So just a few more photos. I wanted to start with a few more photos today to give you a little bit of the concept of where I'm talking. And so the Adirondack Mountains, the Adirondacks is a mountain system in New York. That's where I live. A lot of snow, a lot of skiing, and it gets very cold. And then the picture of Mount Baker, that's actually a mountain out west. So out more where it's not in California, but it's the West Coast, where Sarah is in the United States. I'm on the East Coast of the United States, and Sarah's on the West Coast. So I have one more slide of photos before we start getting into the content. So something I also do is trail running, and you again can see in these photos just a little bit of like the garb that we're wearing to the uniform, the shoes. It can be very muddy out in the mountains. We wear, like trail running vest. I do know there's a growing trail running scene in Nepal right now, especially with, tea house trekking and a bit of trail running. And countries like Nepal and Bhutan are becoming more active in this scene, which is exciting because most of the races are in the US and Europe, but there have been a few in Nepal and Bhutan, which I think is really awesome. Next slide. We'll start getting into the content. So that's a little bit of my personal background. So I want to spend a little bit of time on these questions, and I would like everyone to just on a piece of paper with a pen or on your phones in notes. We're going to take 5 minutes here. I want you to answer these questions and just write down the questions. It can be bullet points, it can be one sentence, but I want everyone to write down and answer. What does it mean to be physically fit? What have you learned about physical fitness? And what does physical fitness mean to you? So let's spend 6 minutes on this. So at 10:40, I will begin talking again. If you have any questions, please chime in. Otherwise, for the next 6 minutes, let's be answering these questions. We have about 1 more minute, and then I'm going to start some discussion on the questions. Just about 1 more minute. All right, let's, even if you're writing, that's okay. You can keep writing. I'm going to go into these questions, and they are similar. You might have some similar answers here. It might be hard to pull them apart a little bit. I want to start with the second question. So I'm curious, in Nepal, what have you learned about physical fitness? In the United States, I was talking a bit about how I was a kid and in physical education classes. So in the United States, we make physical fitness part of our classes that we take every day in school, from a young age. And we're taught about sports, we're taught about nutrition, we're taught about all these different things. So I'm curious if anyone wants to talk a little bit about what it's like in Nepal. And you can either talk or put it into the chat. But I do want to get some background here because I really don't know. I don't know what your structure is like for what you've learned about physical fitness in Nepal. So let's just see if a few typed answers come in here around, like, how old are you? Are you getting physical fitness classes? Is it co-ed? Is it boys and girls? In the United States, we had co-ed classes. So it was boys and girls learning how to play sports together.
Excuse me, I want to share my own answer.
Yes.
Physical fitness means the condition of all our body organs in proper function to be ready to perform each kind of activity, including mental health.
Mm-hmm.
According and physical fitness means the state of being able to perform all physical activities which can be obtained from balanced diet with proper nutritious diet, exercises and with proper rest, etc. And in Nepal, people these days, because in Nepal people are suffering from so many diseases, communicable or non-communicable. So according to that, the people are becoming so alert. They start now having physical activity, either by doing going morning walk and gym,
Mm-hmm.
then aerobic classes, dance classes, walking. So I can see the people in the morning time, they are just alert about their health because they don't want to get sick. Because in Nepal, the food people they are taking is not so hygienic and not so natural. So
Mm-hmm.
all these have made their health bad day by day. So they just want to keep their body healthy by doing physical activities and exercises. These all are the condition of Nepal which I have seen till now. Thank you.
No, thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you. Does anyone else want to share a little bit, either by chat or by voice? Oh, I think that's a good start. In someone.
Mention something. Yes, physical fitness means to be in a state of health and well-being. And if we are physically active and we can do our work in effective and efficient way, and like our leisure activities, and we are quick thinker as well if we are physically active. And in our Nepal, there are now people are uh, especially students are getting opportunities of learning martial arts in their own school, and most of the students are involved in sports activities like football, badminton, etc. And along with that, most of the people are uh, joining fitness classes like gym, Zumba, aerobics, and like extra activities like dancing and also the exercise. So this is happening in our country. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. That's great. That's wonderful. That's such a good start for this question because these are similar questions, but it starts with, and I should have put that one first, what have you learned about physical fitness? And what I learned when I was a kid is that it's important to be in shape or physically fit so you can go about your daily life and not be tired, you can be healthy, you're not sick, you're not in the hospital, you're not overweight. So these were all things that I was learning, and that it's a balance of physical activity and food intake. So,
And
the,
daily activities, I
yes.
want to say. And every day I'm doing exercise like almost 3 hours to keep
Wow.
healthy. And as a, martial art instructor, and twice a day in a week, I teach martial art to my children. And from there, I'm learning something, and I'm also giving something to the children. Thank you.
Yes, that's wonderful. I love that. I love that. So, going on to these next two questions, I'm just going to talk a little bit about these. So, I want you to think about this though. What does it mean to be physically fit? And what I mean by this question is what comes to our mind when we see someone as being physically fit? What do they look like? So, what does it mean? And in US culture, it very much has a specific image of the person is slender or muscular. They're able to run fast. They play sports. They're athletic. Even somewhat of what they wear. Like even today, I wore a hat, and for a few reasons. This hat is part of an organization that I do work for. It's called She Jumps, and I put the link in the top of the meeting chat. If you scroll to She Jumps, I put the website there. It's an organization that increases women and girl participation in outdoor sports. But in America, women, we wear hats. It's seen as sporty. It can be seen as athletic, even just like some of the attire that we wear to the gym. So that's what I meant by that question. Like, what does that mean to you? Well, first, like, what does it mean? Perhaps I should have put in the society that you live in to be physically fit for the first question. And then the last question is like, I want you to start thinking about what physical fitness means to you, because you don't have to be that standard version of physical fitness to be fit. And I want to break some of those stereotypes and labels that I know we have in the United States. I know they exist in other places around the world. Are it doesn't mean that you have to be on TV or competing in the world track and field, right now to be physically fit. There's lots of components to it. And that's what I want to get into in the next slide. So thank you for thinking about these questions, starting to run them over, to what they mean to you, what your background in it has been. So I want to get deeper into it now because there's actually a lot more to it. There's a lot more than just the it's healthy for your body. I do know someone mentioned, and I'm thankful someone mentioned the mental benefits of being physically active, and that's being researched more and more today, and it's just coming out that we are so interconnected, our mental bodies with our physical bodies, with our emotional bodies. So here's a list of all the different dimensions of health, and I didn't even write them all down. There's so many, but this is a list of what impacts our well-being, and there's different categories. So we have the mental category, our mind, our thoughts, what's going on for us. And, do we have something that's keeping us from being able to recreate? Sometimes people get depressed, they have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, they have trouble finding that motivation to maybe go for that walk in the morning. What's going on for them mentally? Are they juggling a lot of work? Are they stressed? And it has been shown that even just like a 10-minute walk in the morning can really help our mental state and help realign us. There's also the emotional component. So, emotional is a bit different than mental. They are connected, but emotional is more of what are you feeling? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you tired? Are you bored? Are you joyful? And it has been shown, even if you're feeling these more sad or angry emotions, if you go out and again walk or are physically active for a certain amount of time, getting your frustrations out in a physical way, that is good for your body. And another component that affects us is our spiritual component, what we believe in, whether it's a higher power or like whether it's Buddhism or Hinduism, Christianity, or, belief in nature, belief in the mountains, the spiritual component, we can deepen that, especially with outdoor exercise. Going to the mountains for me is very spiritual. We have our physical being, and I want to bring this up because some of the coursework I did when I was a college professor was talking about Americans with Disabilities Act. So there are many people who are born with physical disabilities where they can't walk, they might be in a wheelchair, they might not be able to see or hear. So I think lots of times this is overlooked a lot, especially, going back to the last slide and the questions of like, well, what do you think it means to be physically fit and what comes to mind? Lots of times, my students, it doesn't come to mind the image of a para Olympian. So someone who is, you know, maybe partly paralyzed and still competing, in a wheelchair. They're still competing on a high level, but a lot of times our mind doesn't go there. And I just want to speak about that for a bit because we all have different physical ability to begin with. And I just want us to broaden our view on that. Another thing that I talk about a lot, and that goes into some of my classes that I used to teach on accessibility, is how expensive are these sports and classes, and going to the gym and that Zumba class or that yoga class and or that gym membership. And financial is a real uh, hurdle for many people around the world and in America. I do know, I've traveled the world a bit. I think there's stereotypes and stigmas on all countries, and the US is usually seen as a more like a richer place. And there's still a lot of pockets of poverty and people living on the street, people going to food kitchens, not being able to eat day to day, and certainly not being able to afford a gym membership or even the gear that's required for some teams. And we see this impact certain races more than others. And that is being talked about more and more in the United States now. But I just want to bring it up because financially, very much financially impacts our well being, because well being and physical fitness, it became a business. And I don't know if you see that in Nepal, but in the US pretty much led the charge on this in the 1970s, 1980s, bringing in, even the idea of more organized classes, that gym culture, and really capitalizing on even the clothes we wear for fitness and all those different things, the home workouts, the videos. It was a big thing that really tied into capitalism, which the United States does very much run on. And a lot of the world looks at what the US does and, creates their own version of it. So I think it's important to talk about that too, of like what clouds and what impacts our physical fitness and our wellness today, because you don't have to have all those fancy things. You can go sit in nature, you can go walk in nature, you can do sit-ups, you can do push-ups, you can do all these things in your own home and still be in a good mind state mentally and physically and emotionally. The last one I want to bring up, and then I'm curious if anyone has their own thought on another thing that impacts our well-being other than what is on the list already, are environmental factors. All right. Another thing I taught in college was a lot about climate change and global warming. And something we have going on in the US right now are a lot of wildfires out west. And that has been impacting the air quality. So if you were going for your morning walk every day, you might not anymore because there's a fire nearby and it's impacting the air quality, or in certain parts of the world just where it's heavily polluted, or you can't swim in that river, or you can't go out because you have asthma and it's bad for your asthma. So we are seeing more and more impact of environmental factors today than we ever have in history. Like these environmental factors, the air pollution was not as strong 200 years ago as it is today. The same thing with water pollution. We just have a whole nother level of it today. And a lot of that is because of factories and plastics. So I am curious, after that list, anything else that you see really impacts our well-being? Yeah. And thank you for your comments. This helps me paint a fuller picture. So I see in Nepal, it's also been growing with business strategies. Yeah. And most of the people can't afford to pay it. Yep. And that's very similar in the United States. It stays accessible to a certain group of people, and then a lot of people are left behind. I'm doing some stretching right now. Sarah, we can go to the next slide. All right. So there is a reason it's become a business, and it's a business with books and journals, and like I said, the home workout or the gym workout, because there are so many benefits of well-being. All right. So even with physical fitness, I'm going to start talking more just about well-being, or even replacing the word physical fitness with well-being, because like I went over in that last slide, well-being is composed of so many things other than the physical. All right. So even our physical health, it's impacted by our mental health, our emotional health, our spiritual health. I do a lot of work today in the therapeutic world. So I help young boys who are struggling with depression, anxiety. We do a lot of outdoor activity with them. You know, we go hiking, we do meditation, yoga, you know, simply just walking in the woods or laying down. But this is an industry, and I am a part of this industry. And there's a reason that it has become such a business in the United States and around the world, because the benefits of well being are great. Um, if you have a stronger well being, you will more likely have greater happiness. We are all going to face adversity in life, you know, sad times, times of grieving. If you are able to keep your well being in a more balanced place, you're more likely to handle those obstacles in an even more positive way. You look at the world with more gratitude than anger. And it's a very joyful and pleasant way to live. So it's very sellable, because when you see someone doing it and doing it well, you do want a bit of what they have, because they are very happy, they're very healthy. Um, they statistically are going to live longer and have more fulfilling lives. So, just what I mean by that is, when you have strong well being, you are seeing a lot of things around you as an opportunity, as a gift, and you're living a lot in the moment, not so much reflecting or dwelling on the past or looking too far into the future. You're very grounded and you're in the moment, and that is what a lot of sports actually teach us too, and martial arts and yoga and activities. I like that a few people brought up dance in Nepal. You know, dance is a very grounding, in the moment sort of activity. What strong well-being also does is it boosts your immunity. So you are less likely to get sick when that disease comes through. And that is strong physical and mental well-being that does that. There's amazing studies that have been done around people who are more positive and people who are more pessimistic. So they just think, you know, more on the negative side, and that people who think more negatively are more likely to get sick, because they just already think they're going to get sick when something comes through. And they saw this a bit with COVID, and it was very interesting, because there was a test that could test you if you had COVID or not. And a lot of people who were on the more negative side were testing themselves a lot, because they just kept thinking they had COVID. Now, there's a little bit of anxiety there too, but what researchers were finding was that people were almost giving themselves the symptoms, because they just already thought they had COVID, because they were in that more negative mindset. Whereas sometimes people on the more positive side would actually have COVID, but not even test for it, because they just felt like, oh, well, this is just a sniffle, or this is just a cough. And it's very interesting what our mental outlook on life does for our immunity. It's pretty amazing. So when we boost our immunity, we have less disease as a person. And I don't know if anyone can relate to this. And Sarah, you can go to the next slide. But you might have someone in your life who is always sick, or is always healthy. And there's different things going on there for sure. I have two autoimmune diseases. I was born with them and I take medicine for them. But overall, I'm a very healthy person. but I know I've had to work in that well-being component, not just being physically fit, but being mentally fit and working on all those components of well-being. So what I want to do now, we're at just a little after 11 my time, just about halfway through. I do want to, you can take this activity wherever you want to. I would like you to at least do a assessment on yourself. You're going to do a physical fitness wellness assessment on yourself. So go to another page or like notes on your phone or whatever works best for you. But what do you do right now? What does a possible like typical day look like for you? What is the food you're consuming? And how are you exercising? And you can look at your diet. And diet, I want to be very specific. Diet, when I use the word, it simply means the food you eat. The word diet in the United States has been misused a lot for like dieting and restricting food and trying to be thin. But really, your diet, we all have a diet. It's the food we eat every day. So, what does that look like for you? What does your schedule look like? Are you a parent? Are you a sister, a brother? Are you taking care of a family? Are you also going to school? What does it look like for you? So I want you to bullet point this. Fill in your diet. For me, try to think of the foods you eat in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. I don't try. I do eat rather healthy. I've been aware. I grew up on a farm, so I ate a lot of fresh vegetables and dairy when I was a kid. But my mom was a nurse and she was, very thoughtful of how she taught us to eat. And then I went on to college and I learned a lot about the food industry and what is in a lot of the food in the US, and it's not good stuff. So in the morning, I really try to eat oats, and I put honey in my oats and cinnamon in my oats. I drink tea throughout the day. I also, like when I was in my 20s, I came to India and I came to Nepal, and I loved Indian and Nepali food. I found it to be, very healthy, all the rice and the vegetables, and especially compared to American food. So I still do a lot of that. And I try to limit how much meat I eat, only a little bit here and there. I usually have some sort of dessert, like a cookie, and that's, usually at the end of the day. But, really just spend some time right now of trying to write out a full day. And this can be a hard exercise, but try to write out a full day of what you eat from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, and what your schedule is like on I would say, typical day. And if you're doing any sort of exercise, put it in there. And also want to add, if you're doing anything for your mental health, put it in there. Like maybe you're reading, maybe you're writing, maybe you're meditating. So try to do a full day, and I'm going to put it in the chat as well. And we're not sharing these. This is an awareness activity. It's an assessment for you, because sometimes we're simply not aware of, wow, I really just run from one thing to the next, and I'm just like picking this up to eat when I have a minute. And I like to start here because we have to assess where we're at if we want to make any changes to these behaviors, because that's what it is, and it's behavior change. So it's an activity of try to write out a full day of what you eat and do. And we will spend 4 minutes on this. This is just an assessment activity. And like I said, we're not sharing, it's more for your benefit. But if you have any questions, put it in the chat. And I'm just going to mute myself for 4 minutes.
So we are writing what we eat and what we do every day, like for one day, right?
Yes. Try just one day. Try to pick, like, out of your week, your maybe most typical day that you have. For example, I'm going to pick my Wednesday. It's kind of at the middle of my work week. I'm not going to pick my weekend, which is more of like maybe a higher activity day, or even like I'm not doing much of anything day. So I'm just trying to pick one of my average days. All right. I'll start just talking about this a little bit. Like I said, we're not sharing this, but if you really want to look at what you're doing, look at it for a day, but also look at it for a week and then a month, especially if you are looking to change something about what you're doing. Okay. Great. Thank you for sharing some. Yes. Yes. Wonderful. So I always start with assessments because I want to look at where I'm at even before I start making goals. All right. So, like, I want to look where I'm at and then make goals from that. So, I think it's also important to give ourselves that pat on the back of, all right, what are you doing great already? And, for me, I feel my physical fitness starts with getting sleep. And I'm pretty, consistent and good at that. And I put my sleep first and try to get that 7 to 8 hours. And that starts my day off. And then, I'm having a cup of tea and I'm writing, or I'm out on my porch in the sunshine by the river, and it's very grounding. So when we look at where we allocate our time, this is just important. Like if we're looking to fit in this hike or this exercise class, we really have to start with our schedule and make time to do it. So maybe that does mean getting up a little earlier or going to bed a little earlier then. You see always adjusting your schedule. It's balance and it's hard to achieve. It's not impossible, but it is challenging. So if you're frustrated, that's perfectly normal. And one of the best tips I can give around physical fitness and well-being, and if you're looking to boost both for yourself and to set some goals of, either getting more toned, more muscle, or eating better, it is great to have a mentor in your life or someone who can hold you accountable. So what I mean by that is get a well-being buddy, okay? Find someone who has similar goals and values as you and start checking in with that person uh, every day or every week. And you will find that you're more likely to achieve your goals when you share them with someone else. So I always use something called SMART goals. And, so instead of saying, oh, well, I want to lose weight. All right. Um, I would say I want to lose 5 pounds. That's specific, that's measurable. All right. Something, and I bring up the weight thing because that's often the health focus of, oh, I just want to lose weight. I think it's important to look at that and see if it's even safe, if it's something you need to do for your health. Are you overweight? Is your doctor saying you should lose weight, or is it just for appearance? So certainly think about your goals and if they're specific and safe, if they're measurable and achievable within a realistic amount of time, so like this is just so iconic for weight because some people are like, oh well, I want to lose 20 pounds in a month, and that's not safe or really achievable or realistic and timely. That's a lot of weight within a month. So our bodies, and here's just some facts about bodies in general. Our body doesn't really like to gain or lose weight. It likes to just be at the same place. All right. So you're going to have to put in some effort, even if you want to gain weight and keep on the weight. You really have to look at calories. You really have to look at either adding 3,500 each. No, that's each week. I'm losing the math right now, but here's the thing to take away from here. Your body wants to stay where your body's at. We all have a natural weight, and our body has a really good way of just finding its way back to that time and time again. So, even if you did lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds, your body is going to find a way of wanting to probably gain back that weight. And that's called the yo-yo. And many people do it where they lose those 10 pounds, they gain back the 10 pounds. They lose them, they gain them back. And that's the yo-yo. Sarah, we can go to the next slide. All right. So keeping track of progress. If this topic really interests you and you really want to give your mind and body and just yourself this, I call them, well-being makeovers, or really like well-being focuses. If you really want to focus on this, I recommend doing it for a month. And it always starts with the assessment of what we just started today, of where are you at right now, and you can add questions into that of, hey, do you feel happy? Do you feel sad? Are you tired? What are you thinking about? Are you stressed? Put in as much detail as possible. And then for 1 month, either dedicate a personal journal, and I love just little notebooks like this. If I'm ever doing a well-being month, I'm going to do a little journal like this, or I do it on an Excel sheet. Love Excel sheets. You can have different columns, you can have different tabs, keeping track of what you're eating, keeping track of your sleeping patterns, keeping track of what you're drinking, keeping track of how much you're moving. So many things impact our wellness. So that's why I do like Excel sheets too, just for the organizational standpoint. And like I said, if you're really serious about this and wanting to just increase your immunity, your happiness, all these things that come with that, find someone to do it with you. It's, to me, one of the most important things. And I've used different people in my life for this. Sometimes my mom, sometimes my sister, sometimes my partner, and it does really help, and I see more positive benefits even just through sharing that with someone. So one of the last things I want to leave you with in this space is that fitness is a daily practice. We can fall into it, we can fall out of it, just like well-being is a daily practice. This isn't something that, okay, once I start to do it well, I'm just going to keep doing it well. You're gaining the tools to do it, but really our life fluctuates so much that you're going to have periods that feel kind of dull, or you're going to have periods where you feel like, wow, I was just like so, on every day, or it was a really good month and then it wasn't such a great month. And that's life, and that's normal. And that's why I really like these journals, these wellness journals, or, like I said, the Excel sheet, and keeping track of it. And I recommend that too, as, someone who works in the mental health field. It's important to keep track of where we're at and how we're doing, and to talk about that. So it's a real passion of mine, and it's a real passion of mine to help people find stronger well-being in their life, because I do think it helps in so many other areas of life, even environmentally. And I think about, if we're taking better care of ourselves, we're going to take better care of the environment, and we're thinking about the environment more, and we're thinking about where our food comes from. And it impacts all these amazing systems. So I really like to see it spread and to see people take care of themselves. So Sarah, we can go to the last slide. And the last slide is just a way for you to contact or stay in touch with me. And if you have any questions, please put them out there. But you can reach me at this email or through my Instagram account. And I post a lot on Instagram about well-being and physical fitness. And I also, social media is a great thing. It's also something we can get sucked into and spend too much time on. But I do like to follow people who are on paths of well-being and, like including them into my circle. So that's all I have. And let me know if there's any questions. Thank you all.
Thank you, Bethany. We really appreciate you. Sorry, I was gone for a second. Someone called me. I had to take care of something, but thanks a lot. I think this was a very important topic that we've been talking about during our workshops. And as an athlete, I wanted everyone to hear Bethany's point of view on athleticism and how important it is to just kind of maintain our basic physical fitness as minimum, right? And I think this made a huge difference in my personal life, kind of being active constantly and taking care of my body, because taking care of the body always helped me to have a good mental state to do all the things that I want to do. And Prakriti, she's an athlete. She knows exactly what we're talking about. So I think that it's very important. So even if it is basic, if it is a little exactly same as Bethany said, I think it's starting. Even if like today only for 5 minutes, I'm just gonna go out and do the walk only for 5 minutes, and then tomorrow I'll make it 6 minutes, and then 7 minutes, and then 8 minutes, and then eventually it becomes, oh, I'm out for an hour walking, running, exercising. So, but start with 5 minutes. Don't make it a big deal. I'm just gonna change my portion just a little. I'm just going to eat healthier, add a little bit of vegetable today, just a little, that makes a huge difference. All right. Thank you so much again to all of you. Thank you, Bethany, for giving us your time and the presentation. I'm going to stop the recording right now.